Good evening. I want you to think for a moment about the most difficult season you have ever walked through. Not a minor inconvenience, not a bad day at the office. I mean a true soul-shaking hardship. A time when the ground felt like it was shifting beneath your feet, when the future was a fog you couldn't see through, and the questions you were asking were heavy with fear and doubt. Maybe it was a financial collapse that left you feeling exposed and vulnerable. Maybe it was the end of a relationship that you thought was your forever. Maybe it was a health crisis, your own or that of someone you love, a battle fought in sterile rooms and anxious waiting. Maybe it was a deep, gnawing loneliness, a feeling of being utterly unseen in a crowded world. We all have that chapter in our book. The pages are dog-eared, perhaps stained with a tear or two. And in the middle of it, the most common question we ask is, why? Why is this happening to me? What have I done to deserve this? We look to the heavens or to the silence, and we demand an answer. We see the hardship as an enemy, an intruder, a mistake in the grand design of our lives. But what if we've been looking at it all wrong? What if this thing we fear, this thing we resist, this thing that causes us so much pain is not an act of aggression against us, but an act of love for us? What if the very pressure that threatens to crush us is the same pressure that is being used to create something of immeasurable worth? Tonight, I want to explore a different perspective. A perspective that doesn't deny the pain, but gives it a purpose. A perspective that sees our hardest times not as a punishment, but as a process. The process of being made. Not broken, but made. Stronger, wiser, more compassionate, more resilient. We're going to talk about how the great sculptor uses the chisel of adversity to reveal the masterpiece that was always waiting inside. The first thing we must come to understand is that hardship is not an accident, it is an assignment. It is a curriculum, not a condemnation. Think of it this way. If you wanted to become a world-class pianist, you wouldn't expect to master a concerto by only ever playing the light, happy, simple melodies. You would have to sit down at the keys and practice scales until your fingers ached. You would have to wrestle with complex chords with dissonant notes that sound terrible on their own. You would have to play the same difficult passage over and over, 100 times, 1,000 times, until the muscle memory was burned into your very being. The frustration, the boredom, the feeling of being utterly incompetent, that is not a sign that you are failing. It is the very evidence that you are in the middle of your training. It is the sound of growth happening. Now, apply that to the soul. When life feels difficult, when circumstances feel like a relentless, frustrating piece of music you can't seem to get right, we often think, this is not for me. I am not cut out for this. We see the struggle as proof of our inadequacy. But what if the struggle is the point? What if the universe or the divine has looked at the potential within you, the strength, the wisdom, the grace that is dormant, and has said, this will not be awakened by ease. This will not be born in comfort. This requires a training ground, and so the training begins. The challenges that arise are not random acts of cosmic cruelty. They are specifically chosen lessons tailored for your unique soul, designed to target the very areas where you need to grow. The person who needs to learn patience is given a situation that requires immense patience. The person who needs to learn courage is placed in a circumstance that demands it. The person who needs to learn forgiveness is often hurt by someone close to them. It is a targeted, intentional process. It is a divine apprenticeship. We are not being punished for our weaknesses. We are being given the opportunity to transform them into strengths. The pain you feel is not a signal to retreat. It is a signal that you are in the gym. You are lifting weights. Your soul is being stretched, and like any muscle, it grows in the process of being torn down and rebuilt. To see hardship as an enemy is to misunderstand the entire workshop. The noise, the dust, the sharp tools. They are all part of the creation of something beautiful and enduring. The question is not, why is this happening to me? The more powerful question is, what is this trying to make of me? Which brings us to the second and perhaps most crucial key. Our response is the raw material. The assignment is given, the curriculum is presented, but we are the ones who must choose to be the student. The sculptor can bring the finest chisel to the most magnificent block of marble, but if the marble decides to resist, to fight, to refuse to be shaped, it will remain a block. The refiner can build the hottest fire to purify the gold, but if the gold refuses to enter the flame, it will remain full of impurities. The hardship is the tool, but our response is the material that the tool works upon. In any given trial, we are presented with a fundamental choice. We can choose to be a victim of our circumstances, or we can choose to be a student of them. The path of the victim is a path of resentment. It asks, why me? It focuses on the unfairness, the pain, the loss. It leads to bitterness, to cynicism, to a hardening of the heart. It is a path that, while understandable, ultimately leads to stagnation. The soul that chooses this path may survive the hardship, but it will not be made by it. It will simply be scared by it. The path of the student, however, is a path of inquiry. It asks a different set of questions. It asks, what can I learn from this? It asks, how can I grow through this? It asks, what strength is this situation demanding of me that I did not know I had? This path requires a different kind of courage. It requires the courage to be still in the midst of the storm and to look inward. It requires the humility to admit that we don't have all the answers and that perhaps, just perhaps, this experience has something to teach us. This is the path of transformation. When you choose to be a student, you begin to mine your hardship for meaning. You look for the lesson in the loss. You look for the strength in the struggle. You look for the opportunity in the obstacle. A setback is no longer just a failure. It is feedback. A difficult person is no longer just an antagonist. They are a teacher in a very challenging disguise. A period of loss is no longer just an emptiness. It is a space being cleared for something new to be planted. This is the alchemy of the human spirit. It is the ability to take the leaden weight of suffering and through a shift in perspective, begin to transform it into the gold of wisdom. This is not a passive process. It is an active, daily, sometimes moment-to-moment choice. It is choosing gratitude over grumbling. It is choosing hope over despair. It is choosing to ask, what is the next right step? Instead of getting paralyzed by the overwhelming nature of the entire journey. Your response, your thoughts, your attitudes, your choices in the darkest hours is the clay in the hands of the potter. Make it pliable. Make it willing. Make it ready to be shaped into something magnificent. And this leads us to the final point, the beautiful, inevitable outcome of embracing this process, the creation of a resilient and radiant soul. When we stop fighting our hardships and start learning from them, we are not just surviving, we are being forged. And what is forged in fire is infinitely stronger than what is simply assembled in comfort. The person who has walked through the valley of the shadow of death and has chosen to be a student of that journey emerges with a depth of character that cannot be acquired any other way. They develop a quiet confidence, a resilience that is not based on the absence of problems, but on the proven ability to overcome them. Their roots grow deep. Think of a tree. A tree that grows on the open plain, shielded from the wind, has shallow roots. A single strong storm can uproot it. But a tree that grows on the side of a mountain, constantly battered by the wind, is forced to send its roots deep into the rock and the soil, gripping, holding on, finding strength in the very force that seeks to topple it. Your hardships are the wind. They are the forces that, if you resist them, will break you. But if you lean into them, if you allow them to shape you, they will force your roots to go deeper than you ever thought possible. You will develop an unshakable core. Furthermore, this process cultivates a profound and genuine compassion. A person who has never known deep pain can offer sympathy, but a person who has walked through their own fire can offer true empathy. They can sit with someone in their darkness because they have been there. Their scars do not disfigure them. They become a map of their survival, a testament to their strength, and a source of connection to others. They become a beacon of hope. Their very presence can say to another suffering soul, I see you. I have been there. It is possible to walk through this. The light that shines from a soul that has been through the fire is different. It is softer, warmer, more real. It is not the naive, untested glow of someone who has only known ease. It is the steady, brilliant light of a diamond, which is nothing more than a piece of coal that handled the pressure exceptionally well. So I ask you to reconsider the hard times in your life. Do not see them as chapters of your life you wish you could tear out. See them as the very chapters that gave your story its depth, its meaning, its power. See them as the sacred assignments that were given to you because the divine knew you were strong enough to handle them, and that by handling them, you would become stronger still. You are not being broken. You are being made. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. You are not a victim of your story. You are the hero of it, and this is your training. Embrace it, learn from it, and become the magnificent, resilient, radiant soul you were always meant to be.